I just matched with my dead wife on Tinder. I had numbly swiped left so many times in a row that I had almost missed it. I wish I had. My wife Allison had been dead for 2 full years, yet there she was, on Tinder, smiling at me in a photo I had never seen, looking older than she did when she passed. All of the air went out of the room. I skimmed through the rest of her profile. There was no writing, but 3 other pictures of my dead wife that I had never seen before, including one with the Statue of Liberty behind her, even though I knew she had never been to New York City, at least to my knowledge. The profile had the right name. It was as if my wife had just continued living after July of 2020, but her location was 9 miles away. I swiped right and breathed for the first time in nearly 2 minutes. I struggled to sleep for the next 48 hours, never getting a match, ready to message Tinder and tell them that someone was impersonating my beloved dead wife on their app, and doing some kind of magical Photoshop to put her in pictures that never existed. The match came in at 3:33 a.m., lighting up my phone, but I was already awake. The message came with a match. Just a simple hi. The absolute worst in any situation, let alone this one. I mashed the letters on my phone as hard and as fast as I could. Who is this? Why are you doing this? And where did you get those pictures of my wife? She died of cervical cancer 2 years ago, you monster. I had to wait another 24 hours before I got an answer. It came in the middle of the night again. Derek, I miss you. I'm sorry for what happened. That was it? Sorry for what happened. She died of natural causes, so in no way she could have controlled it. And I was supposed to believe that my dead wife's spirit decided to inhabit a Tinder profile and hit me up on it? I got another message as those thoughts ran through my head. Are you home? What the fuck? I got another answer before I could form my own. I'm outside. My blood ran cold. Something rattled in the darkness of my kitchen and I jumped up and readied myself in the bed before I realized it was just ice dropping in the ice maker in the freezer. Another message. Holy shit. Let me in. Please. Fuck. What? Someone had to be fucking with me, but who would be? This impossibly cruel and diabolical. There had been maybe a couple of people who didn't like me at work, but no one who would ever go this far. Another message. Never mind. No more time for thought, just reading. Never mind, I got in. I heard the front door of my house close and I tightened up in my bed. I started to write back. Why? I'm a dumbass, I don't know. Another message rang in before I could shoot mine off. You're on Tinder too soon, Derry. The pet name only the two of us had used on each other. Logistics of who knew that name flashed through my head as I heard footsteps approach my unlocked bedroom door. Then the footsteps stopped right outside. They were accompanied by a fresh message in my inbox. You were supposed to mourn me, not try to fuck 23-year-olds on Tinder. Oh my god. I realized right there it was even following Allison's quirk to impeccably punctuate any kind of message, even if it didn't matter, putting the dashes into 23-year-old. I spoke finally. Allison, I'm sorry. I love you. I miss you. I've been sick to my stomach for 2 years, but I had to move on. I threw up most mornings for almost a year. I was so wrecked. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. But now I'm finally starting to put it together. I pleaded into the wood of my bedroom door. My throat went dry. I just couldn't speak anymore, too choked up. And just like I had been when I tried to give Allison's eulogy. I'm fucking sorry. Everything hurts. Every day. You're my only love forever. I barely got the words out. I couldn't hear or see anything, but I could sense someone out there on the other side of the door. And then I couldn't. Then I heard the footsteps walking away and the door closing again. I checked the app. I had a message waiting for me. Okay. Goodbye. XO. I felt like my spine tried to climb out of my body. My entire being went numb, and I couldn't feel anything other than an odd, disconnected pain. It was her. I walked out to the front door and looked outside, and there were no signs of life. I went back to my phone in my bedroom, and Allison's profile had been deleted. I felt okay until a couple of nights ago I came back from a date with the 26-year-old I met off Tinder. Came home tipsy after a few drinks and a makeout session in my car, on a high. I checked the app to see photos of the girl whose tongue had just been in my mouth and noticed that I had a new like. I had my account on premium so I could see who it was. It was Allison, but with the same profile. She was only 1 mile away, and I swiped away. Let's see where this goes. I stepped on a dead bird when I walked out my front door to go to work in the morning. I picked up my heel and looked down at a snuffed out robin that had just been underneath my foot. I thought nothing of it until I found another dead bird, this one a fat, brown little sparrow deceased at my feet. The sparrow and robin were just two of what looked like to be a dozen birds strewn around my yard. This couldn't have been an accident. My pet name for my wife was Birdie. I took the lead this time, messaging Allison on Tinder. Who is this and why are you doing this? I've been through enough already. I had to sweat out the longest day of work of my life without an answer. I was just numbly eating my signature dinner of spaghetti carbonara that I could make with just 5 ingredients in 15 minutes when I got it. I miss the smell of your carbonara, and it's me. I could tell you something that only I would know. Allison shot another message before I could reply. Your secret favorite song is All Too Well by Taylor Swift. Shit, I had never told another soul that. Another message from Allison before I could think more. I miss you so much, Derry. You really made my life special, and I tried to hang on. You were the last thing I thought of, and it made me happy. I truly felt loved. I could feel your hand holding me strong. I'm sorry I couldn't hold on. My throat went dry, and tears fell on my phone screen as I read her message a few times. Those last moments we shared at the hospital, that rhythmic beep of the heart monitor still played in my head. I took my time trying to think out what to write back to her, now actually happy that she had found some digital afterlife to contact me. Allison, there's no way to properly write out how grateful I am for the life I was lucky enough to share with you. I miss everything about you. I miss the way I would catch you looking at me with starry eyes when I walked across the room. I miss the way you talked like you were telling someone a secret, even when you're not. I miss watching your reflection on sunny hikes. Honestly, I can't write anymore. I'm sure you can feel what I feel. I know that. Sometimes I feel like you're still here, even before this. Allison replied in the same amount of time it would have taken someone to read that message twice. I have been here. What? Her message came across as eerie and endearing at the same time. She went on. You know when you set your keys down somewhere and can't find them and they end up somewhere you swear on your life you never put them there? When you feel like there were 5 shrimp in your stir fry and then suddenly there were only 4? Have you ever felt warmer all of a sudden when you're crying on a rainy night? It was at that moment I realized that I hadn't turned the lights on in the house, but it was almost nightfall. I sat there in the dark, crying into my congealed spaghetti, wondering if Allison was watching me right there or if this was just the world's cruelest prank. The buzz of another message nudged me in the dark. I'll step away. I'm sorry for causing you any grief, Allison, XO. I let that sit right there. It felt right. But I also had to do some housekeeping. The thought of Allison lurking over my shoulder and shifting through everything in our house dug a burning hole into the lining of my stomach. I grabbed my computer, went out to the car, and drove into town. I stopped in the parking lot of the nearest grocery store, took out my computer, and started deleting everything that I would never want Allison to find on my computer or phone. Random old porn I had downloaded, some pictures with a couple of flings I embarked in since she passed. It honestly wasn't much, and I was back home in less than 20 minutes. Everything felt right until I went to our bedroom door and found a small pair of red underwear wrapped around the handle. The image of their former owner burned in my mind and turned my entire head red in a flash. I saw the girl in my mind, small, bubbly, very drunk at the bar I went to with my high school friends. She was there with some of her friends from high school too. One thing led to another, and we went back to my house and spent the night together. I think she could pick up on the sadness inside of me and tried to cheer me up by leaving her racy underwear on the floor like she forgot them. I threw them somewhere in my closet and forgot about them, honestly. I started to panic. I needed to think of a response, but it also felt like I had just downed an entire bottle of NyQuil. My thoughts got slow, eyelids got heavy, and every muscle in my body became sluggish. I felt drugged. I dropped down hard on the floor, unable to even make it to the bed. Lying on the floor, struggling to stay awake, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. I used the last of my strength to reach in my pocket and pull my phone out. I had a message from Allison, which I was able to read on my home screen. I'm glad I put what I did in your dinner when you weren't looking, after what I found, when I left you guilty. We loved each other, Derry. Why did you do things like that? My final molecules of waking energy were enough for me to take in the message, and then I passed out. I woke up on the floor hours later, still groggy but alive, and the first thing I did when I woke up was check Tinder. Allison's profile was deleted. I never found out why Allison drugged me, other than just to mess with me or get back at me for the incriminating things she found on my computer, my phone, or in my closet. I kept waiting to get a notification on Tinder that I was liked by Allison, and I kept paying for the stupid premium account so I could find out, but it never happened and months went by. I kept waiting for something strange to happen in our house, but it never did. The power went out once because someone hit a pole on my street, but that was it. Life went back to normal. One of the girls, Phoebe, I had started casually talking with on Tinder just before Allison's profile annihilated my world, stepped into my life. We started hanging out regularly, though always in public or at her place. I held off having her at my place as long as I could, and I thought about telling her the situation, but then I scraped off that idea. It was far too crazy. Months had gone by without a peep from Allison, and I was finally comfortable having Phoebe over. I invited her over for dinner, and I had talked up my 5-ingredient 15-minute carbonara, and she really wanted it, and this red wine I'd been talking about. Phoebe and I hadn't slept together yet, and I was getting major vibes that this was going to be the night, so I decided to make everything perfect, and that got me deep cleaning my place. I was cleaning out a coat closet when I had found Allison's old MacBook. It was stored above the jackets on a ledge underneath the board games, which haven't been dusted off since she was sick. Just looking at those games flashed cozy nights on the couch underneath a blanket and sipping drinks through my head. I felt a little warmer than I did before. The MacBook provided a momentary distraction. I had sat down on the couch and started going through Allison's files. I knew she saved her favorite photos and videos there. I didn't have much time with Phoebe coming over soon, so I just skimmed through the thousands of photos and videos and fought back tears. It was all going sadly and sentimentally smoothly until I saw a large chunk of bare skin in a swath of photos. Allison's bare skin. I stopped on the photos. I had never seen them before, at least I don't think I had. Allison was either nearly naked or close to naked in them, posed seductively but not pornographically. Think old school Playboy photo shoots. They were all in a fancy hotel room I didn't recognize. I saw some cityscape through a window, but I couldn't make out which city it might be. What the fuck was this? Who took these photos? I dove into the photos and examined every one like a skilled detective, looking for any clue I could. I got the biggest clue and relief I ever could have gotten when I got to the last one, and it showed Allison naked, sitting on the bed holding a sign written in cursive that read, "I love you, Derry." Oh, okay, crisis averted, back to cleaning the house. This wasn't to say my suspicion was not raised, at least a touch. Would throwing that last one into the photo with the sign been a cover your ass move in case I found the photos, which were intended for someone else? At this point I could divulge that Allison and I didn't have the most perfect relationship, and neither of us were pillars of mental stability. Allison grew up in a hard luck family. Her mom had her at 19, and her dad split very early, and she barely knew him. He only came around for occasional life events and lived somewhere in Florida, possibly on a boat. I didn't care enough to get that much more, and he didn't care to volunteer. Her mom was fine. She wasn't the cliche young single mom who had a bunch of abusive boyfriends or anything. She held it down just fine and always had a job and avoided significant others. The problem was Allison's extended family. They were all bad news and always lurking around, particularly her sister Sophia, who was a dark cloud that seemed to always blow in at the worst time, with sketchy friends and ruined things. Allison had her fair share of mental issues as well. Nothing completely crippling or diagnosed, but she always had a mix of numb depression and sporadic manic anger. She didn't let it hold her back, though. She always got through college, had decent jobs, and met and married the upstanding individual that is myself. I had my fair share of issues growing up as well. On the surface, I had a very clean-cut, middle-class suburban upbringing, but one look under that veneer showed a dull darkness of seemingly contagious anger and depression. More on that later, though. Our issues tended to help us in some ways. We could lean on each other and understand each other in the hard times, and then sometimes we couldn't. The blowout fights were epic. The worst came just 3 months before our wedding. I couldn't even remember what sparked it, but we ended up screaming with each other all night, and she even called off the wedding, even though all of the saves and dates were already pinned on our loved ones' refrigerators. The deepest regret in my life that keeps me up at night is the cruelest thing I said to her in her fight. I told her that she didn't actually mean that much to me, and she'd just been convenient at a time in my life when I had nothing going on. She was a movie I watched on an airplane and then would forget about. I didn't mean it at all. I was just so hurt after the things she said to me and calling off the wedding that I thought of the cruelest possible thing I could say at that moment, and it came out of me. The wedding was off for a few days. We just never told anyone about it. We patched things up and were golden by the time we were walking down the alley. This was all running through my head when I was on top of Phoebe in my bed. It was definitely affecting me. I was barely there. I was just kind of going through the motions until it was finished. She didn't seem to pick up on my troubles. We laid in bed for a while chatting before she asked to shower. I then embarked on one of my muscle memory rituals. Usually after sex with Allison, she went to the shower and I went to the bathroom in front of the house to pee, so I wasn't peeing right in front of her. I did this with Phoebe, walking naked through her home and into the guest bedroom. Thinking about it now, I thought I did notice something peculiar in the kitchen. A moisture, the smell of gas, but that could have just been my brain putting together pieces that weren't there, trying to figure out what had happened shortly after. Had I paid attention to the kitchen, I wouldn't have noticed the pot filler on the stove had filled up a pot that was resting on a burner, and the gas burn had been put on high. But I didn't. I walked right by and went back to the master bedroom. Phoebe asked if I wanted to shower with her. I did. I slipped into the shower. It was warm, comforting, and beautiful. It must have been 45 seconds before the boiling water came down on her side of the shower. The boiling water mostly hit Phoebe's back as she had her head down, the shower nozzle hitting the nape of her neck. I watched her reach back at the scalding water as it scorched her, and I watched the soft skin on her back liquefy and slip away as she clawed on her back in a pained frenzy. The water caught my shoulder and I got the same treatment, a searing pain and the smell of burning flesh right under my nose. I yanked Phoebe out of the shower and wrapped her in a towel. She screamed and heaved in my arms as the eyes combed the bathroom for our assailant. I didn't see anyone, but I saw something written in the fog of the bathroom mirror. I watched everything. Thank you for watching this video. Once again, I appreciate all of your support in my times of taking extended breaks, but thankfully this video wasn't too much later than a week. Hope to be back again soon, in a week at least. But I'm not going to make any promises, because I do tend to take a lot longer than I intend to. But I'm going to try to keep a general schedule of at least 3 videos a month. Thank you, and I'll see you soon, I hope.